Hi everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined with Lars Pottgiesser from IATA. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, pleasure.
Of course. So first off, when we look at the industry landscape, what is the greatest challenge that the region is facing at the moment?
Sure. So being in Miami for this festival, the region for us is the Americas region. So we cover everything from Canada in the north to Chile and Argentina in the south. And there's of course a bit of a disparity between North America and Latin America and the Caribbean. North America with Canada and the US being quite advanced and doing quite well. Every country now in the region has exceeded the COVID levels, so we try to not talk about COVID anymore and move forward. So it's a good step. Exactly, it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And even compared to last year, you know, passenger volumes and bookings and so forth have trended positively. So it's been a positive change. Latin America and the Caribbean, it's still a very tough operating environment for airlines. So we're facing a variety of challenges. If you look at the infrastructure, often airports are being opened that are then already saturated by the day they open. So the demand and supply is quite powerful. And unfortunately, sometimes the infrastructure can't keep up. The regulatory environment is quite difficult in Latin America. A lot of ideas for very excessive regulations that then hamper demand and make it difficult for airlines to serve the market. One example we like to use is Brazil, one of the biggest country in Latin America, huge population, huge potential, but unfortunately the operating environment is quite difficult. There is the largest number of lawsuits for moral damages in the world happens in Brazil. So if you don't like your flight or something happens, there are sometimes judges in the airport, so you can go complain. And then there's a whole system behind it that prohibits for efficient flow. So airlines have a lot of moral damages throughout the year, and it's very prohibitive, therefore, for low-cost airlines, for example, to enter the market. So that's something IATA is addressing. We're trying to educate the various stakeholders and trying to make the region more competitive. And then it continues with taxes and charges. A lot of the governments, look to fill their coffins by implementing new taxes. In the Caribbean, that's been a problem historically. But even there, it's trending correctly, and we're trying to work with the governments to really show the value of aviation, trying to bring more people to the regions who will then spend more money on the trips.
Fantastic. So a variety of things that can make it a fairly challenging environment for the industry. What about the opportunities, the flip side to that? There's, like you say,
sure.
There's the COVID recovery is strong, and now some regions are really thriving.
So something we spoke about this morning at the conference is what IATA likes to keep track is our trips per capita. So, for example, Spain, the average Spaniard takes 4.5 trips per year. North Americans or Canadians and US, it's about 2.5 trips per year. But if you go to Latin America and the Caribbean, the average is 0.67 trips, so pretty much one trip every 2 years. And a lot of the countries have even less. So we like to show that statistic to governments on how can we make air transport more accessible to everyone. Because a lot of Latin America and the Caribbean also lacks the infrastructure that Europe might have. You have high-speed rail, you have a good highway system. The US has a good highway system, but no high-speed rail. So Latin America really depends on air transport in connecting remote regions and kind of facilitating trade and cultural exchange. So there's a lot of potential. A lot of people want to fly. It's the safest form of transport, and getting people on planes is certainly our goal, and it's a very, very big potential in the region that's still developing and growing significantly.
Okay, so yeah, lots of potential for growth there. And then when we think about the competitive landscape, how are we seeing this shift in key markets at the moment? Yeah,
for example, if you look at Argentina, it's been a fantastic shift. The government has been very pro-market, pro-aviation, has done a lot of policies that have really resulted in a boom in Argentina. People want to travel, airlines are serving the market, expanding their growth, things as opening the ground handling market for competition, and allowing more of a free trade principle and allowing competition to enter. It's been fantastic. And so that's certainly one market that we're looking to, and it's been a great best practice for other countries to follow.
Definitely. And then if we think about the the future, what are your predictions for how things are going to develop? I know we're talking about a very diverse region when you're covering the Americas, but what are some key takeaways that you're expecting?
Sure. I think overall the sentiment is positive. A lot of the airlines in Latin America have gone through financial restructuring through COVID, so they have come out as a stronger and more efficient airline. So I think everyone who is there now in the market has very strong potential and is doing very well. There's appetite for more growth. Obviously, some of the supply chain challenges that we see, that airplanes can't be delivered fast enough, engines can't be delivered fast enough. So that's it's a pediment to growth, and it's difficult to serve all the markets airlines want to serve. But the sentiment is very positive. We have great airlines in the region, and people want to fly. So it's a great setup to have.
So feeling optimistic as we look to the next year in the future.
And you never know. It's these days from tariff wars to announcements, things change overnight. So I think the political and economic uncertainty certainly is something that keeps airlines awake at night, because the planning is just not there. But I think overall the sentiment is positive in the US too, with ATC reform now. That's something the industry has been calling for decades, and it looks like it's finally moving. So I think from the US and Canada all the way down to the southern corner of Latin America, the region certainly has great potential to move in the right direction, and we're excited about it.
Fantastic. And like you said, we're sort of moving past the COVID conversations, but if airlines can leverage some of that adaptability and flexibility that they developed, it will help with the way they respond to the changing.
No, and that's the one thing that we like to share with governments. Sometimes they don't understand that an aircraft is a movable asset. So if a hotel is built, okay, the hotel is there for many, many years. But now airlines decide quickly which markets they serve, which ones they don't. Who is giving them good incentives to fly to a certain market, and they can move the aircraft. So if the demand is not there, or if the support is not there, they quickly adjust to passenger demand and can serve new markets that have never been served before. And the same with some of the new aircraft types. So new non-stop destinations are now possible that were not possible before. And I think a lot of the region is very excited about that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.